The hold of Whiterun is essentially a frigid tundra. Lifeless plains that stretch out for miles on end. Trees and lush flora actually failed at populating these plains with their vibrant colors, but the city of Whiterun and Rorikstead have managed to instill a sense of civilization into this empty biome. One of the most iconic landmarks that overshadows the plains of Whiterun is Dragonsreach, a name that brings a sense of familiarity to all Skyrim players. No matter which path you decide to take from Riverwood, you'll encounter Dragonsreach's sturdy Nordic frame glooming over the Gildergreen, the city of Whiterun, and the entirety of the tundra that lays beneath it. It's mounted atop a cliff that the city of Whiterun was gradually built upon, and as we all know, this is why Whiterun was divided into districts, with each district representing either financial status or commercialized areas. The Keep of Dragonsreach has witnessed many bizarre and iconic historical figures that may have once called it home, and this is initially how it underwent all of its structural changes, and to everyone's surprise, it wasn't always this intricate and monumental looking. Its construction started in the First Era, which is why its exterior resembles our Nordic establishment of sorts. I personally enjoy the style the ancient Nords have managed to come up with in Skyrim, solely because it does resemble Scandinavian architecture, and I'm a huge buff for that. But that's the whole point of Skyrim's appeal and world building. It was originally a much smaller building. However, personal interests of eccentric rulers rapidly morphed it into the behemoth that stands before us in the Fourth Era. Dragonsreach as a keep serves many purposes. It's one of the crucial footholds for politics in Skyrim, and not to mention its neutrality towards the civil war that ravaged Skyrim and her economy. Also, let's not forget how an artifact of one of the most deadly Daedric princes managed to make its way into a notoriously abandoned room of Dragonsreach. The master behind this artifact regularly calls upon the current Jarl's son, Nelkir, and Nelkir supposedly refers to this Daedric prince, or Mephala, as the Whispering Lady, solely because he usually overhears a ghastly voice trying to communicate with him. And this is in fact the Daedric prince Mephala, trying to carefully manipulate him into believing preposterous lies about his father, Jarl Balgruuf. Apparently because of Jarl Balgruuf's involvement in locking the artifact behind concrete walls, not only was this successful, but Mephala perfectly utilized the position Nelkir was in, being the youngest son and the oddest sibling out. After slowly interrogating Nelkir about what he overhears the Whispering Lady say, we learn about the newly found hatred towards his father, which means that Mephala managed to convince little Nelkir that he is the result of an affair Jarl Balgruuf had, so he basically thinks he's a love child, which further mentally hindered his perception of what it meant to be a part of the Balgruuf family. And this distortion of actual reality is what drove a wedge between Jarl Balgruuf and Lil Nelkir, causing a never-ending family feud that would irrefutably cause instability amongst any household, especially a royal one. The name Dragonsreach indicates that there is an apparent connection between dragons and the palace, but what you're about to hear was, and still is, highly inconceivable to most common folk. As I've mentioned previously, the keep alone has many bizarre and more or less eccentric rulers that transformed what was formerly a mansion into a palace. This rich transformation took effect in the First Era, after the War of Successions, when the courageous High King of Skyrim, Olaf One-Eye, defeated one of the remaining dragons from the Merethic era. This dragon grew restless. It started terrorizing Skyrim's numerous Nordic settlements, which means that Olaf saw this as a challenge. Olaf One-Eye managed to shout Numenex into submission, entrapping him in a personalized mechanism especially designed for trapping dragons. This is essentially why Dragonsreach was created, to house a pet dragon and his overconfident ruler. Everything I just elaborated upon can fully be seen during a quest the last Dragonborn undertook in the full game. After the end of High King Olaf's reign of 32 years and the unfortunate death of Numenix, the people of Whiterun had to establish themselves somehow, mainly due to how recklessly Olaf ruled over the Nords of Skyrim, and this resulted in them building a jail beneath Dragonsreach, as well as forming improved barracks and implementing greater training regiments for their city guards. As for the current or former ruler of Dragonsreach, Balgruuf the Greater, or Jarl Balgruuf, is a forthright descendant of the High King that trapped Numenix in Dragonsreach, Olaf One-Eye. Olaf's successors managed to hold royalty even until the Fourth Era, which in of itself is a huge accomplishment, an accomplishment that probably came with its fair share of hardships as well. From the looks of it, Balgruuf and his kin that share to keep are traditionalistic Nords, which means that they condone the worship of Talos and the quote-unquote true Nord ways. But his exterior political views partially contradict his true and personal beliefs about the Thalmor and Talos worship. He profusely claims that he's on the side of Whiterun, but this seems more like a hypothetical political argument, a play on words. He claims that he realistically owes both the Imperial Legion and the Nords of Skyrim his allegiance, but when it truly came down to confirming which side he would draw his sword for, he never actually made the distinction we were looking for, leaving us in the dark once again. On a positive note, Dragonsreach and Balgruuf's immense determination to help the last Dragonborn find his natural calling severely aided and changed the tides of Alduin's war against humanity and the world. One could even say that the Nords saved the world, for the second time now. Dragonsreach is a quintessential part of Skyrim's Nordic culture. Every single one of Olaf's successors kept his legacy alive by tending to an iconic structure of the sturdy Nord race. It fundamentally embodies the heart of Skyrim, sitting up top, watching over Skyrim and her citizens. The people's determination to restore former glory to Whiterun and its image was immensely successful, particularly when you have a visually pleasing palace that acts as a figure of authority, a symbol of potency. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Have a good one.